Oh my goodness, good morning. How are you doing? Grab a cup of coffee and maybe a notepad. I might have a few nuggets in here for you. Haha. I have been a little bit absent for the last little while. Not too long, maybe 10 days a week. Just my granddaughter was home and we were busy with her. And I've been decluttering my home. And I realized that my life has kind of just kept going. The days kept, from one night into the day, into the night, into the morning. And oh my goodness. I mean, grateful to be alive, of course. However, it's full on most of the time. It's very rare that I just get to sit and numb out. I do it. I force myself to do it, but then I get too numb and I sit there for quite a long time. So I realized that I had all these aspirations and hopes and dreams, and I kind of ended up buried under my life. Between, 10 years ago, the breakup of my last relationship, my mom getting more and more ill at that time, and then I was still working on my degree from Concordia, from the School of Business, John Molson. I have a bachelor's degree in human relations, and a minor part of that is business from John Molson. So between the obligation of my mom, my schooling, I worked full time as well. I felt that I had created expectations of other people for me, that I was just going to show up, that I was just going to be there, that I would drop everything to run. And if I didn't, believe me, I felt guilty. But I kind of was that person who was just going to run for everybody, no matter what. But then I realized I was kind of dragging myself on my knees, theoretically. Obviously not physically, but the exhaustion I started to feel was very intense and scary at times, because I just wasn't used to it. But also, I didn't realize I was starting like very full-on menopause, and my body was changing, and all the fluctuations in hormones and thought processes, and even sweat glands. Like, where did all this sweat come from? I mean, it's kind of crazy when you think about how much our body changes. And when I couldn't fulfill the obligations I had trained people to expect of me. Now you got to remember that. That's something we train others to expect of us, because they don't know that we don't really want to drop everything and go running for them. They only know that that is how it has always been. So when I started to kind of drop the ball on different things, I would feel so guilty, because I felt like everyone's life was my responsibility. Their needs were my responsibility. To keep them afloat was my responsibility. And that made me put me and everything I ever wanted on the back burner. Any dreams I ever had or anything I wanted to do. And I just kind of left myself there, sitting in the mess of my life. Basically, yeah, buried. I was buried under my life. So, have you ever looked around and felt like you were buried under your own life? Not just your house, but I mean like literally your life, the responsibilities, the obligations, the pulling yourself in 50 different directions, paperwork, obligations, appointments, expectations, responsibilities. One day, I just woke up and I realized, I'm managing my life instead of living it. Now let that land for a minute. I didn't and haven't taken vacations in close to 20 years. My 40s were work, 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 and my 50s were work, work, work. And now, at this point in time, I'm pushing, like I am in the last part of my 60th year. So I will be 60 in a few months, and I really have never lived my life. So I realized also that I had a huge amount of like physical clutter in my house. I don't know if you've listened to this podcast before, but for me, my mom passed away in 2022, July, and I moved into her home a few months later. And there was so much stuff in that house. And, I was made to feel by someone else that almost like I didn't have a right to go into that house, even though I knew it was my house. Like I didn't have a right to go into it. The person kept citing like laws and rules from outside of our community just to make themselves more comfortable in the thought of, I guess, the whole idea of me going in the home. But I did anyway, because that was my home, and I don't care what anybody says. I'm just going to do what I want. I've always been that way, and it's not a bad thing in this instance, because I was able to kind of sit and do my grief process in that house, in my mother's home, while I could still really smell her there, while all of her things were still there. I'm not one to sit, in front of a casket in front of 50 people and cry like a baby. I don't do that. I mourn very deeply, but in private. That's not something, I'm not this person who needs to get attention. And for me, that's for me. I'm not talking about anyone else. So I can't do that. So I spent a lot of time kind of like just lying on my mother's bed crying. It was very intense, but it was very necessary. So I realized over time that there was so much stuff that I wasn't actually cleaning the space. I was just moving things from one spot to the next spot. And I was like, oh my God, I can't keep doing this. I need to start getting rid of things. I mean, there was gifts and items that she had worn that were worn out that I wasn't throwing. And I thought, well, I'm going to use this part as part of my grief cycle. So I started to put bags in different spots, and just when I'd see something and I'd go, no, this is going, oh, that's going, all the old underwear, all the old socks. My mother found her favorite pajamas. Of course, they had the biggest holes in them because she just found that so comfortable. So I found that the longer I stayed there in those things, the more my energy was getting drained. It's like once I sat there, I was comatose. I couldn't move. And I realize now that that was just because there was so much stuff there. And it was like every item in that room was a memory or a talking point, or it was asking me for something, or I felt a guilt about it, or. There was so many things that were just in there dragging me down. So, number one, I went and I got a mortgage, and I started to get estimates for renovations, because I knew that home was finished. Not finished, but it was not well laid out. The house was not well laid out. It was so small. I mean, it's 20 by 20. So it's very small. There was a staircase that was used as a doorway, but it was a humongous space, which I've now turned into a bathroom. It was a back door area along with stairs going into the basement. That's all it was. But it was like 7 by 9 feet. And I was like, whoa, I could use this for a bathroom, which I did. I have a stackable washer and dryer in there. I have a shower stall. I have my vanity, my toilet. So I used space better. I renovated the whole thing, and thanks to my son, who was able to kind of see what I was going for. And even though it, cost him money as well as me a lot of money and time, he's been amazing to get things done for me. He's, slowly chipping away at things, because there's a lot of parts of it that weren't fit into the mortgage that I'm paying out of my pocket, but I needed to use the space wisely because it's small, it's 20 by 20, and it was just cluttered and not used well. So once I started to clear up all that clutter and rearrange the space, my life kind of felt so much lighter. And, you know, that part was huge for me. And through all of that, I'm a mom. I have adult children, I have grandchildren, I have friends, I have my job, I have, this podcast. I work very hard to be everything for everyone. And I think that's because when I was a child growing up, my father was very, very, very violent. And he would beat my mom like black and blue and break ribs and teeth. And her jaw was crooked, till the day she passed. And as a child, I always tried to placate and smooth things over to make everyone happy. It was kind of my job. And I don't know where that thinking came from as a child, 5 years old, 4 years old, I don't know. But it was always very interesting thought process for me as an adult. Like, where did this come from that I have to be everything for everybody? I have to just drop my life and go and run for people. But I created that dependence on me. I feel that there's just such a part of me that needs to fix everything and everyone. So, of course, I ended up exhausted and sometimes resentful. I lost touch with myself and I forgot what I actually wanted and who I am and what did I even like at some points in my life. I don't even know. So that's why this episode is like I was buried under my life, because I only now am starting to declutter, not just physically in the home, but intrinsically in my emotions, in my thoughts, in how I feed myself, how I take care of myself. There's just so many things that have changed in my awareness of who I am, and it's like things are a little bit brighter. I feel a lot lighter. I started to give away boxes of homewares. I even gave away my microwave because I don't use it. I'm not going to keep things anymore that I just might use one day. I use that microwave so little, maybe once every 2 months, that I just was like, no, I don't need this anymore. I literally gave away my microwave. Boxes of cups and oh my God, so much stuff. Just kitchen homeware, like utensils and stuff. I got rid of so many bags and bags of clothes. Oh my God. I found a bin that takes clothing because where I live, they don't take it anymore. I guess they have way too much. So I went to a place, I found a bin behind a church, and I'm uncluttering. My drawers have space, my closets have space. There's just so much space, and I still have a lot more to go. So also, there's things that I bought a long time ago that don't fit anymore to who I am. Being 60 and now, I mean, this is my 60th year, right? So I'm almost finished it, going into my 61st year. So the things I bought at 50 and 40 don't fit my life anymore. That includes clothing. And I had to realize that creating myself some space emotionally, intellectually, physically in my home, it's not selfish, and it's not mean, and it doesn't mean I don't honor my mother and thank my mother, and it doesn't mean I don't love my mother for giving me this home. I felt like I was buried under possessions, but what I was really buried under was old versions of me, who I was as a daughter, who I was as a mother to younger adults. Now they're much older. My children are all in their like mid 30s to late 30s. So I was buried under this, even at my jobs, like give everything until it hurts, work extra hours, exhausted, working till 10 at night and then going back for 8 a.m. All that kind of stuff. I really couldn't anymore. It was just not who I was as a person anymore. And I realized I did those things to survive. And it was meeting a need in me to fix everything and to carry everyone. And I don't understand, and I don't know where that came from until I did. I became aware that as a child, because my home life was so violent and unstable, that I had to create the stability of always being okay, right? So being a Libra, of course, balance, but I'm right on the cusp of Scorpio. So I'm also very balanced, but don't mess with me because you're going to find out the what's what. I don't know why, and I don't do it in a mean way, but I am very aware that that's something I do. So I just wonder, in closing, what would your life look like if you made room for yourself? And is there really an immense and intense need to do things like right away, right now? What if you could let one thing go? What if you could fill one box or drop one commitment? Let go of that guilty thought. I've had to do that, my God. I've had to ruminate over guilt and understand that guilt is a useless emotion. It does nothing to help us in our lives in any way. And what old stories do you tell about yourself? Mine was that I was a terrible person, that I was just like my father, who I absolutely despised in life, even though I understood where he came from and why he was, how he was, and who he was, doesn't change the fact that he chose that every single day and in every interaction with me. So I had to let go of the old story that I was the person who had to fix everyone's life and had to show up for everyone, because you know what? There's just no one else. However, there is other people that can help. It doesn't always have to be me, and it doesn't always have to be you. Think about that for a second. I realized that my first step forward toward a new life, it wasn't adding more stuff. It was letting go of a lot of stuff. So this was a Place to Pause podcast. I would really appreciate your subscription, to follow my channel, to like the video and share it if you'd like. Please hype it up. I would really appreciate that so much. I appreciate you, and I thank you for your time. You've had a great impact on my life as my subscriber and as a future subscriber. And I wanted to let you know how much I appreciate you, and it really helps this channel to help other people. Thank you so much. Only love, Shirley.